You know, for centuries, people around the world had a special name for India. They called it the Sone ki Chiriya, the golden bird. And this wasn't just some poetic nickname, it was an economic reality. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of time to uncover a history that's been largely forgotten, an era when India wasn't just rich, but was the undisputed center of the entire global economy.
So when you think of the great economic empires of history, what comes to mind? The Roman Empire, maybe? Or Imperial China? Yeah, they were powerful, no doubt. But for the better part of 2,000 years, one single region consistently held the title of the world's wealthiest. And the answer? Well, it might just surprise you. It lies in this number. At its peak, the Indian subcontinent accounted for a staggering 1/4 to 1/3 of the entire world's economic output. To put that into perspective, that's more than all of Europe combined. This was the economic superpower of the ancient and medieval world.
And let's be really clear here. We're not just talking about a country with a lot of resources. No, we are talking about a true global superpower, whose economic dominance was just an accepted fact of life for centuries.
What's truly remarkable is the sheer longevity of this dominance. I mean, this wasn't some brief golden age that lasted a few decades. This timeline shows us that from the time of the Roman Empire, all the way through the Middle Ages, and right up to the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, India was a central pillar of the global economy.
This comparison really puts that wealth into perspective. In 1700, the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb's treasury brought in 10 times more revenue than that of the famous Sun King Louis XIV of France, and that's despite ruling a population that was only about 7 times larger. The scale of this wealth was just almost unimaginable to Europeans at the time.
So how did this happen? What was the engine that powered this incredible, centuries-long prosperity? Well, it certainly wasn't an accident. It was a system. You see, the Indian economy was built on several incredibly powerful pillars. It was a leader in manufacturing, agriculture, technology, and finance. So let's break down a few of these key drivers.
Long before Britain ever earned that title, India was the original workshop of the world. Its #1 export? Textiles. Indian cottons and silks were, without a doubt, the most sought-after fabrics on the planet. From the togas of Roman senators to the bustling markets of Southeast Asia, Made in India was the ultimate brand of quality and luxury.
But hey, it wasn't just soft goods. India was a technological powerhouse. It produced something called wood steel, a material so advanced it was exported to the Middle East just to be forged into those legendary Damascus swords. And this superiority in metallurgy wasn't just for warfare. It meant better tools for artisans and farmers, which boosted the quality and efficiency of the entire economy.
Now, because India produced so many of these high-value goods that the rest of the world desperately wanted, it created a massive trade surplus. Empires like Rome had very little that India actually wanted in return. So what was the result? A constant, one-way flow of wealth. Gold and silver from all over the world just poured into India to pay for its exports, and it rarely ever flowed back.
And this prosperity wasn't just locked away in royal courts either. It supported a highly advanced and urbanized society. In the 17th century, a larger percentage of India's population actually lived in cities than in Europe. We're talking cities like Agra and Dhaka, with populations approaching 1 million people, totally dwarfing most European capitals at the time.
But this incredible economic engine, which had effectively run the world for over 1,700 years, was about to be systematically dismantled. The arrival of European colonial powers, particularly the British East India Company, marked a dramatic and devastating turning point in world history.
This slide really sums up the Great Reversal perfectly. The entire system was completely inverted. India went from being a net importer of gold and silver in exchange for its finished goods to a net exporter of raw materials, with its wealth being systematically drained away.
And you can actually see this shift happen in the real data. For decades, as this table shows, the East India Company had to import millions in silver to pay for Indian goods. But just look at the numbers after 1760, right after the company took control of the tax system in Bengal. The bullion imports just plummet. Why? Because they no longer needed to pay with their own money. They started using India's own tax revenue to buy India's goods for export. This, right here, is the drain of wealth in action.
Now, this reversal wasn't some natural market shift. It was a set of deliberate policies. To protect its own budding factories back home, Britain imposed crippling tariffs. We're talking up to 80% on Indian textiles, while its own goods were sold in India virtually tax-free.
At the same time, taxes on Indian farmers were jacked up to as high as 50%, far beyond anything the Mughals had ever levied. Step by step, India's world-class industries were systematically deconstructed.
The result of all these policies was a catastrophic economic collapse, truly one of the most dramatic in human history.
The results were just devastating. This chart says it all. In 1700, India commanded about a quarter of the world's GDP. By the time the British left in 1947, that share had collapsed to less than 4%. An economic superpower had been reduced to one of the world's poorest nations.
And the mechanisms were complex, extending even into global finance. As Britain and other major economies shifted to the gold standard, India's silver-based economy was left incredibly vulnerable. This meant the value of its currency, the rupee, plummeted against the pound sterling, making it even easier for wealth to just flow out of the country.
This quote from the historian and politician Shashi Tharoor really cuts right to the heart of the matter. The industrial rise of Britain and the deindustrialization of India were two sides of the exact same coin. One was financed by the other.
So the key takeaway here is this. India's historic wealth was not an accident. It wasn't a fluke. It was the product of sophisticated financial systems, cutting-edge technology, unparalleled manufacturing skills, and a deep understanding of global trade that lasted for millennia.
Which brings us to our final question. Having been the world's leading economy once before, can the Golden Bird soar to those same heights again? That powerful history provides an incredible context for its journey today, and it's something for all of us to think about.